Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 229th episode of Real Hawk Talk. I am Brian Nemhauser, and you can find me on Twitter at HawkBlogger. Folks, I am here to tell you this Seahawks team continues to amaze. I don't know what to do about this team. They are 6-3. 6-3. They've won 4 straight. They're now 2-1 in the division. Swept the Cardinals. They came into this game as the number 4 offense in the NFL. They're the number 4 scoring offense in the NFL. They put up 31 points. 31 points on the road against Arizona in a game that the Cardinals desperately needed. Desperately needed to win this game. This was a game that I predicted the Seahawks would lose. I always like starting by admitting where I've been completely wrong. And heading into this game, I was 7-1 picking the Seahawks this year. Straight up. And every time I picked them to lose, I barely got voice because that game got me screaming, folks. Every time I picked them to lose, I hope like hell that they're going to prove me wrong. And the last 2 times I picked them to lose, at Los Angeles against the Chargers, at Arizona against the Cardinals, not only have they won, but they've won with a little bit of swagger. Remember, everybody, this was 31-21, and that's with a pick 6. The Cardinals' offense in this game scores 14 points. And if we're being honest, 7 of those points came in essentially garbage time. It wasn't quite garbage time, but it was a hurry-up offense. The Seahawks clearly were playing different defensively. And so, I mean, and even then, they as far as I'm concerned, they stopped that drive with a forced fumble by Kobe Bryant, but whatever a football move means nowadays, apparently Rondale Moore didn't do it. But when you catch the ball with clear control, 2 feet come down, and you start to turn around to make a move, I don't know how that isn't a catch. I don't care what the rule is. That is ridiculous. That's a catch. So this team really they kind of curb stomped the Cardinals if you really look at it. And we can, debate what it means to kick a team's butt. But I look at the stats for this game. The Arizona Cardinals had 262 yards of offense. They averaged 4.3 yards per play. And that's after an 83-yard drive to start the game. So, and even then, Kyler Murray was had for a sack and scrambled out of it on 3rd down. If they get him there, who knows what Arizona does on offense. I think one of the most shocking, I'm going to stick with shocking. People are going to be like, I knew it was going to be this way. And I want to welcome to the show here Nathan Ernst at Nathan11. Nathan, I will hand it to you in a second. One of the most shocking parts of this game to me was DeAndre Hopkins going, forget the fact that he had 4 catches for 36 yards. That's crazy. He only got targeted 5 times. So I honestly didn't think that was possible. I thought that, he hasn't been stopped in the last 2 games. Over 10 catches, over 100 yards, circus catches for touchdowns. He's arguably the best receiver in football. And this was going to be the challenge for Tariq. And I assume that some of it's got to be Tariq and some of it's got to be game plan. Maybe they rolled more coverage over to him wherever he was. I don't know. My sense, having watched the game, was that a lot of this was Tariq Woolen maybe like Nathan. I gotta say, as excited as I've been about Tariq, I've kind of been thinking like, yeah, maybe teams are like not really going after him, and now DeAndre Hopkins is going to come in here, and it could be a rough day for Tariq. This could be like the moment where it's like, it's his learning week. That didn't happen, man. So let me hand it off to you. I mean, I'm beside myself about this team. I love this team. Like, I never expected to love this team, and I'm kind of curious. Like, what do you make of that game?
I think that they showed they can do anything. And maybe not all the things at the absolute highest level. Like I don't think that
Yeah.
they were really amazing, but division game, road game. They got hit in the mouth with a pick six. They shut down a star wide receiver. They pounded the ball to basically just wipe out the fourth quarter. Just all the kind of things that you're like, I kind of want to see how the team does in this situation. The Seahawks were like, yeah, we'll do it all in this game and it'll be fine. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not on like a Super Bowl train here or anything. I think that the team is next year's draft probably away from having serious conversations about that, next year's draft and next year's free agency. But like, it's just a complete team that can do whatever it needs to do whenever it needs to do it, and do it all, anywhere from pretty well to really good in some cases, right?
It is wild that you're 100% right that this team might be one off season away from being a Super Bowl contender. Like,
Well, I don't think there's any question about that right now, right?
what's that?
There shouldn't be any question about that because they have a ton of cap. They got high draft picks, lots of draft picks. They do a good job, not a great job. They do a good job in free agency, and this is a team that should be expected to make the Super Bowl. Or
I got to touch.
right?
You're 100% right. And I got to touch on one of the things you said that I think is huge and like a great point to bring up in your first thing is they got punched in the mouth. And I got to admit, like, I was like, it is a throw. Like, it's a very picky thing, but it's one thing I've seen Geno do a little bit where he doesn't seem to get the air under the ball in some of those passes, and it's worked out all year. But every time he throws it, I'm a little bit like,
The DK
this time
early on,
but
the DK one right before the DK touchdown.
oh yeah,
Should have lofted that
yeah,
more, and that should have been a touchdown, and almost got picked.
100%. But I unlike other times where I've watched the Seahawks, other quarterbacks, I was like, this is actually like I bet this is gonna be we're gonna see the best of Geno now. It felt so good to like have that be my reaction. I was like crushed and pissed, all of that. But I was like, when something goes wrong, when he's pushed into a corner, Geno's a brawler. And like we talked about, he's a dog. The drives, Nathan, immediately after that, 13 plays, 75 yards, touchdown. 13 plays, 81 yards, touchdown. 5 plays, 85 yards, touchdown.
That's
That is that's insane.
I mean, the only thing that like tarnishes this, like, and tarnish is not the right word, but the only thing that like I don't know, I think diminishes this a little bit. I just don't have a lot of respect for that Cardinals team.
Ah,
I don't think they did it against a top-notch opponent or anything, but they did exactly what you wanted them to do, what they needed to do, and they crushed it. So like, yeah, I mean, it's a little. I think the thing that's hard right now is that like you can really heap a ton of praise on this team. I just don't quite, like I'm saying, it's not a Super Bowl team. I don't think that super high upside with this team just isn't there. But like, man, I don't know. Can they just out consistency teams? Can they just out like grind? And grind isn't even the right word because they didn't grind in this game so much. I mean, they got hit in the mouth a couple times, right? That gave up the early touchdown and the pick six. But like, yeah, they seem like a team that's hard to shake, and they're just going to go out there and they're going to do what they're supposed to do. And can you ride that to a couple playoff wins, maybe?
just got word the Rams lost to the Bucks. So that franchise going further down the drain. Love it, love it, love it. I will say this, and we say Super Bowl team. I think that it's a little bit. It's worth defining. I think it's realistic that the Seahawks couldn't make the Super Bowl this year. I don't think that they're likely to, but I look at the NFC. The only team that I think is clearly better than the Seahawks is the Eagles. And even then, like, would I feel like the Seahawks would have zero chance to go into Philadelphia and win an NFC championship game? No. Like, I absolutely do. I feel like they could realistically go into a Super Bowl and beat the Bills or the Chiefs? No. I don't think so. But that, I don't know if that's what you mean, but like, I don't think they're a Super Bowl winning.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, it's a little hard to see them. I don't know. It's hard for any team, right, to get to win 3 games or whatever they're going to have to win to get to a Super Bowl, right? Although I guess at this pace, it might not have to be 3. They could just have to get 2, right?
Yeah. Only one team gets a bye now, right?
Oh, that's true, huh? Yeah.
I was just thinking about. I started looking up standings, and I was like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah.
Between them and the Vikings they've only lost 1 game.
No, well, the Eagles are undefeated, so
yeah, but then they're also behind the Vikings, right?
They are. Did the Vikings win today?
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'll pull up the standings, but yeah, I mean, it's it's wild that we're having that conversation at all. So as it stands right now, yeah, the Vikings did win. It looks like they're 7-1. Seahawks are solidly in third place in the conference. It's 8-0 Eagles, 7-1 Vikings, 6-3 Seahawks, 4-5 Falcons. Although Tampa Bay just won, I think. So I think maybe they're 4-5 too. We'll see. Anyway, then an under 500 division leader. Then it's 6-2 Cowboys, 6-2 Giants, who the Seahawks have beaten, and then the 4-4 49ers.
Would really love to have that Falcons game back. Would really love to have that Falcons game back, man.
That's the Saints game for me. It's the Saints game for me.
Oh yeah.
Like when Walker had that touchdown run against the Saints, I thought we were gonna win that game, and then that friggin' Taysom Hill.
That's right. I forgot. Okay, yeah. I would rather have the Saints. The Saints one actually maybe does hurt more.
Man. So going over some numbers here. The Seahawks started off rough. Like offensively, this has been a little bit of a unspoken thing going on the last few weeks for the Seahawks. The defense has been what we talked about because it was crazy how good they've become. But the offense has kind of slid a little bit. Like it hasn't been quite as good. And sure enough, in this game, it didn't start off as good, but they end up with 31 points. They go 10 of 15 on third down. I mean, we got to talk about third downs. Geno Smith, like he had some amazing conversions. 421 yards of offense. They go for 6 yards of play. They have 158 yards rushing, average 4.6 yards per rush. They were 4 for 4 in the red zone. Nathan, that might be the stat of the day. This was the second to worst red zone football team in the NFL heading in today. They were 4 for 4. Can you remember the 4 touchdowns? Like, especially the first.
There was There was 2 Walker touchdowns. There was a DK touchdown. And I don't remember the other one.
The Lockett.
Oh, yeah.
That was 3rd and 6. It was a double dipper, a third down conversion from the 9-yard line and a touchdown. I mean,
the thing with this offense right now is, and I mean, last week that was, I think, a little fluky. Like they should have put up more points last week. And even then they scored 27, 28, something like that, 27. Right? 27.
Yeah, 27.
And then this one they scored 31. So it's a little hard to complain. But the thing with this offense is they don't have a real explosive element to them. They're not as bad as the Cardinals, who look like they can't throw like past 5 yards downfield. But it, like, you don't see the big, I mean, other than like a couple Walker runs, right? Walker's been their biggest home run threat. So I think that's like the only thing with the offense is that it just feels a little weird because they really do kind of have to matriculate it down the field every time.
Yeah, I mean, you think back to the Lions Saints game, that wasn't the case, right? They were bombing it. Even the Falcons game, there was a lot of big plays in that one. And I don't know if like teams have just changed their coverages, but I think that's one of the things that in an odd way I've gained confidence about this team with that because you can see I mean, you've seen how many NFL seasons you go by and you see something working. We saw Russ let Russ cook, right? Where that was just going off and then people adjusted, start playing more too deep, and all of a sudden it was not working and they couldn't. I mean, that team the last half of that season couldn't score like 15 points. Like it was brutal. But they're able to beat you in so many ways. And it is like a little tense to like watch this team play offense. It's like not comfortable. But Noah Fant. I mean, we got to mention Noah Fant, Nathan.
Yeah.
We've been pretty hard on him. What did you think of his day? He finishes with 5 catches for 96 yards, 5 catches and 6 targets. So he was the leading receiver on the day.
He's a weird one. Like, I mean, he's supposed to be this like uber athletic tight end. And like he's been fairly effective as just another like Disley or Parkinson, which I don't mean to be like, derogatory or anything, but like he's just out there kind of, catching 6 to 9 yard passes and kind of moving the chain. I mean, today he busted a big one on they caught Arizona. I thought they were going to run probably or whatever there, but so I mean,
he doesn't come across as an athlete, as like an explosive athlete. And you'd think when he was picked and what his reputation was, he'd be a little more sudden than he is.
And I think if I was a Bronco fan, I'd probably be a lot more frustrated with him. But like for basically a throw in the Russ trade, yeah, I'll take a guy who can just catch. I mean, what even if you take his big play out of his stat line, it's still just a guy that's like just making positive plays, little chunk play or little plays here and there. What tight ends do, right? So
yeah, I mean, one of the things that's I thought not only did he have a good game catching the ball, I mean, he's definitely his most impactful game as a Seahawk, no doubt about that. But he actually had a key block on Kenneth Walker's run. I can't remember which one, but I remember seeing, I think it was the one where Walker's also like, God, it's easy to root for that guy too. There was a play toward the end on the final touchdown drive where he's got the outside and he's heading towards the end towards the sideline. Smart enough to cut it back in. He didn't even cut back in like close. He cut back in like a good yard inside the marker. That was a play I think I saw Fant was blocking ahead, King opening for him. But Walker ran tough. He didn't have his big explosive plays today. He earned those yards. You talk about Broncos fans, Nathan. Like this game, if they watched any of it, had to hurt, right? I mean, you're watching Noah Fant go off. You're watching Shelby Harris go off. You're watching a quarterback that's signed for $3.5 million that is just lapping and lapping and lapping the guy that you traded all those picks for, Charles Cross. I thought the offensive line played better today. I mean, give up 5 sacks against the Cardinals last time, and it was a lot of like pretty quick pressure. Yeah, it it was a rough day if you were a Broncos fan.
I think the other thing
stood out to you.
Well, I was like, going back to Geno. Oh my gosh, I don't have my microphone plugged in. I probably sound terrible on my laptop audio. 1 second here. But going back to Geno, talking about getting punched in the mouth and how he would respond and all that stuff. How he responds to not having a really explosive like aspect to that offense today. Like he never, I mean, he I guess you can say he was pressing a little bit maybe on that pick 6 or something like that. But after that, at least he really just kind of calmed down and he just takes, he doesn't just take what you give him. Like he will exploit what you are showing him. And sometimes it's running with his, and getting out and scrambling and picking up a first down. And sometimes it's just staying patient and, just throwing darts all over 10, 5, 10, 15 yards. And then, when he does need to, he can still, open it up. He's not a Russ level downfield passer, but like he's capable, right? He's plenty good at it and he's accurate. So yeah, I mean, I think the thing like that's so exciting about Geno and that's so cool about this team is just like I said, they can all aspects of it, right? They can do whatever it is they need to do when they need to do it.
Um, I love you bring that up because it like stood out to me this in this game. Like I multiple times I found myself thinking like, God, I love this quarterback. Like, and part of what I love, it's the fight that we already talked about, and that doesn't just show up after adversity. That shows up on 3rd and 12 when he rifles it in there for a first down. There was a play early in the game where he's getting rushed. He gets bumped by the pass rusher, still delivers a strike to Fant for a big 3rd down conversion. Like he's tough. And then like that one running play you were talking about, I don't know if that's the one you're mentioning, but like he is smart.
Mhm.
Like it's so nice to have a quarterback where like most likely the adjustment he's making at the line right now is the right one. And most likely the Seahawks are going to get some kind of advantage out of this. And that play was a 3rd down, I think, or whatever it was. Cardinals came screaming up the field on a blitz. The line did a good job of kind of pushing them to the side, man coverage, and he just jumps ahead right away. It wasn't like he had to think about it. He's like, I'll take that. Like, yes. Yes. So, I mean, I think it's just nice to have a quarterback that is really doing it all. And I was just looking up his deep passing numbers because I was curious. He is, for what it's worth, he is number 4 in the NFL in what are they sorting this by? By adjusted completion percentage on deep passes. He is actually number 1 in the NFL in PFF rating on passes 20 yards or longer. Number 1, 95.7. Like,
I mean, that's
yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that for him right now the thing is just the volume, right? I think part of it is when he is throwing those passes, there like he's not pushing it, right? Like he's not forcing it or pushing it or challenging defenses that way, right? He takes it like kind of like everything. Like if you give it to him, he's just gonna sit back and be like, all right, what are you giving me? Okay, I'll take that. Okay, I'll take that, right? But not in not in the like the way the Cardinals offense feels, where it's like, oh, you're just you don't try to do more than like just dump it off and hope your guy makes 3 guys miss or something like that.
Say more about that. Like, I think that's a really good point. Like, how do you differentiate the way the Cardinals play offense, which a lot of times is taking underneath passes, at least this year, versus the Seahawks, which also were taking some pretty safe passes most of the day?
There's a lot of examples for this, but the one that sticks out in my mind it wasn't a flea flicker, or it was like the lateral back to Geno, where clearly like that you want to get a shot play out of that, right? But was it DK? Who was it that caught that? Was it DK or was it Tyler? Was it Fant? Okay, that was an awesome catch by Fant. Where it's not there, and so that was like it was open and it was there, but like there were multiple defenders around it, and he pushed that in there, and it had to be a strike, and Fant got hit when he caught it, right? And so it's one of those where it's like, okay, he didn't force it, he didn't throw it downfield, he didn't try to take advantage of DK's speed, but he didn't just dump it off or run for 2 yards, right? Like he still thread a needle and got it in there in that middle of the field area. So I think that's what really separates him, and maybe Kyler Murray would be playing the same way in a different offense. Like part of that is Cliff and the type of offense the Cardinals want to run, but yeah, I think it's those kind of throws where even when he can't go for a huge play, he's not just looking to dump it down, right? A lot of these 10-yard passes that he's throwing at the sticks are like he is slipping those in there in very tight spots.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. Like he's pushing the ball into tight spots and making conversions. As you were talking there, I was trying to look up because there was a play that made me laugh, and I had to see how they scored it. I don't know if you saw toward the end when Kyler fumbled one of the snaps and fell on it.
Yeah.
Max effort, LJ Collier like ran quickly and put his hand on Kyler and lifted his other hand in the air. Like he was like, I get that one, right?
Did he? Did he get it?
Give me that sack. It turns out, at least according to ESPN's box score, they're giving it as a team sack. So poor LJ
Oh,
Collier does not get the sack on that play. But the Seahawks get a team sack. I feel like that's lame. Give it to good old max effort LJ Collier.
see, here I thought you were when you were saying max effort, I thought you were talking about Cody Barton.
No,
No.
the infamous clip of the Seahawks Twitter account tweeting out LJ Collier doing drills, and it had a caption of max effort, and LJ Collier is moving it like a snail's pace. It's like one of the least impressive clips you'll ever see a team tweet out, and they're like max effort. And it's like, well, it's certainly not max talent, but okay. So LJ Collier got some snaps today. Good for him. He had as many tackles as Jason Myers.
Okay. Did Jason Myers have a lot of tackles?
He had one tackle.
Okay.
He had one tackle. Yes, he did. There's another guy that played today, and I'm going to butcher the name. Anijugo.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I'm sorry. I have no chance.
Joshua.
Josh O.
Josh
I really
O.
apologize. I will learn it. Why was he playing today? 49. Do you know?
I don't know. So we were talking about Trey Brown today, though, and whether he ever actually got activated off the PUP. And so I was looking at the transaction wire for the Seahawks, and it said that he had gotten activated on promoted from the practice squad, Josh O. And then it said on the 8th that he returned to the practice squad, returned to the practice squad. And I was looking at it and I was like, wait, what is today? Today, they actually already have him on the transaction wire as going back to the practice squad. So I'm sure that's just like formality. Like that just automatically happens with these guys. But I thought that was funny. But no, I have no idea why he was out there. But
yeah, people in chat are rightfully pointing out the Darrell Taylor injury, and I'm sure that played a role. It's a little surprising in that, like, I don't think you need to take Bruce Irvin or Uchenna Nwosu off the field in pass rush situations. And so really Darrell Taylor has been more of a rotational pass rusher of late. And anyway, he played. He had a few tackles, didn't do anything great or terrible. I thought Bruce Irvin had another good game.
Mm-hmm.
Got his first sack. And what do you make of Uchenna Nwosu? Like the guy on play-by-play was taking it a little far, saying he's like one of the best young pass rushers up there with Micah Parsons. I'm not at that point with Uchenna Nwosu, but
That's
like,
strong.
where are you with him?
I think he's better than Micah Parsons, actually. No.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay.
No. I don't know. I mean, 7 sacks, that's insane for half a season. I have no idea what to make of him. I mean, I was hopeful. I thought he was a nice player. I thought he was a nice signing. But I don't think he's ever really shown this, like, I mean, at least the ability to convert the pressures into sacks like he's doing all of a sudden. So, I mean, but there's nothing about it that looks like with Bruce Irvin's sack today. I mean, it was a sack, but he also Kyler got pushed into him, right? Because the pocket collapsed from the other side, and so he kind of had to escape out the one side, and then Bruce was there. It was still good play by Bruce, right? But it wasn't like he was just like destroying worlds there.
Right.
But like, I mean, most of his stuff all looks pretty legit. Some of it's like that, but he's also just winning. I mean, so I don't think this is like going to keep up forever, but I think he's a good player.
Well, it's part of what's been just a masterclass of an offseason for John Schneider. That was a very under the radar free agent signing. This is a guy who's young. He's probably younger than some of the Seahawks, early draft picks, but young guy, showed actually from an advanced metric standpoint, was actually showing some pretty good indications that he was an oncoming pass rusher. Perfect fit for the 3-4 kind of that they're starting to go to. And he started out as defensive player of the week in week 1. He could be in the running for another defensive player of the week. I don't know what other defenders did today, but I mean, 2 sacks, tackles a loss, 3 quarterback hits. I mean, the Seahawks only had 5 quarterback hits on the day. He had 3 of them. So I thought he had a good game. I thought it was a pretty solid game for Jordan Brooks. He ends up with 12 tackles. 11 of those were solo, including had a pass defense, which was nice. I would love to see Brooks make some more impact plays. He's like, I don't know what I compare him to right now. He's kind of like this keystone in the middle of the defense and like holding things together, making good solid plays. But there's not the tackles for loss. There's not the forced fumbles. There's not even the big hits. He had one today, but I would love to see him. It feels like he's got more in him than we've seen, and I don't know if it's just the way the defense is schemed up, but I mean, he's probably going to be the leading tackler in the NFL after today. So I'm not dragging the guy. I just I love to see some more plays that turn a game than we've seen from him.
Should have had a pick last week. The Ryan Neal pick. Ryan Neal just got there first. But yeah, I mean, it would be. It would be nice to see him just be a little to make a few more splash plays, but it's also not really, I think, what they're asking him to do. So I'll take what he's given right now. I think he's playing pretty well.
Would you say, I don't know all the free agent signings across the NFL, so I'm massively biased and I don't give a shit because I'm a Seahawks fan. I think there's a conversation that the Seahawks had the 2 best free agent signings in the NFL. When you take in money for value, Geno Smith at $3.5 million to be a top 4 quarterback is unquestionably the best free agent signing. I don't think there's anything that can compete with that. And then Uchenna Nwosu, who's up there at 7 sacks, is on his way pretty clearly to being a Pro Bowl level player. And his contract was not huge. So, you've got, do you know what it is off the top of your head? I'm looking at.
I want to say it was like 3 years, 6 or 7 million a year. So it's like 3 years, 20 million, 3 years, 24 million, somewhere in there.
He signed a 2-year. I guess I'm surprised.
Oh, was it just 2?
A 2-year, $19 million contract with the Seahawks. At least that's what I'm seeing on here right now. And still, like, that's about, $9 million a year, 9.5, whatever. And he's looking like a guy who's playing at like a $20 million a year, $18 million a year level edge player. So, I mean, I think if he's going to end up with 12 sacks, which is totally possible with how many games left to go?
I don't know, a lot.
8, 7, something like that.
Yeah.
I think it's 8. Totally reasonable that he'll get 5 more sacks in that time frame. So 2 just masterful free agent signings. One of the other guys that did something today, Nathan, that he hasn't done all year, Josh Jones made an open field tackle.
Yeah, big one.
He did. It was a big move. Like, he was excited about it. Good for him. Ended up not really being that meaningful, but still good to see. Ryan Neal, I thought, had another solid game. Some good plays. Wasn't as spectacular as some of the others. What did you think of Kobe Bryant's game today?
I think he should have had a forced fumble. I thought that should have been called a catch and a fumble. He's another one, like, it's the same with Mosu. Like, you can't keep that up, right? You can't force a fumble every other game, can you? Right? But like, so far, yes. So yeah, I mean, he's like a super Ugo. Like, he's an Ugo that makes plays and and he's doing it all as a rookie. So I don't know. He's cool. He's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, I mean, you can look at Rondale Moore in this game. He had 8 catches and 10 targets for 69 yards, 8.6 yards a catch. Like, if that's going to be your leading receiver, I'll give that up all day. Mm-hmm. I thought there was a couple plays where Bryant's speed or lack thereof showed up against Moore, where he was able to run across the field and run away from him. But there was nothing backbreaking, and in general, I thought he had a pretty good. I mean, he had that interception, Nathan. Oh my God. There were so many moments in this game where I went from either super high to super low or super low to super high. When he caught that pick, I was like, yes. And then the flag comes in, and I'm like, oh no. And it's, Quandre gets the call and it gets called back. And then
Oh,
later,
okay. I mean, I was racking my brains because like, oh yeah, the pick. And I was like, why do I not remember the pick? But yeah, the one that got called back. That was insane. The little one-handed juggle thing behind his back. That was incredible.
yeah,
Yeah.
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 And then the other play at the end of the half, Kyler Murray breaks out on third down, and I am just screaming. Like my throat is like shredding. And then, sure enough, who was it in that play? Was that Ryan Neal who forced the fumble?
I mean,
I think it was Ryan Neal.
the wind might have forced that fumble with the way Murray was holding it.
Yeah, and so you've got a fumble that the team recovers. Huge. That was a huge, huge, huge play. At that point, the Seahawks were up 10-7. Cardinals were going to be in field goal range. We're going to probably tie it and then get the ball back to start the second half. Like, huge play. I agree with you on that fumble by Kobe Bryant forced. I mean, he should have been involved with 2 turnovers today.
Mhm.
I get that there's some rule about you got to make a football move. What I don't understand is like there's so many other things in football that are pretty objective. You can watch it on replay and you can say, okay, does he have control of the ball? Is the ball moving at all? Nope. Yep. You know it. Does he have 2 feet in bounds? No or yes? Yes. Catch. Like, I don't know why I'm sure there's some reason they're not idiots, but like why they have to leave it to this subjective notion of what a football move is. It just should be I don't know. It's annoying, but whatever.
But the thing that's frustrating about that is they called it he did not fully execute a football move, which means you're basically saying, so he had control and he had his feet down and he started the football move. And at some point in the football move, he then lost the ball. And that to me is like, I mean, I'm sure you can point to exceptions of a time where someone was clearly starting a football move and didn't really catch the ball. But I think like if you're starting a football move, you have the ball. You can't be doing a football move without the ball. Like there are weird scenarios
Yes.
where a receiver turns upfield before they actually catch it. But in those situations, it's clear they didn't catch the ball. The ball like bounces off their hands.
Yes.
So
Yes.
yeah, like I don't mind the football moves thing so much. But this one I thought was particularly dumb because he clearly has the ball, has 2 feet down, and is like going to he's trying to quickly spin away from where he thinks the tackler is going to be, and kind of spins into Brian. And yeah, I mean that's a fumble. I don't know.
Sorry, it annoys me. It does, but like if we were playing flag football, there'd be no one that's like, I don't know, whatever.
The
We'll move
one
on.
thing, in fairness to the rest on that, is everyone that I saw, and I would agree, said in real time it looked incomplete.
But they called it a fumble.
Yeah, well, that's true. That is
so.
true.
I'm not blaming the refs on this one. I don't think it was a bad call. I think it's a bad rule. Is my point. Like, it was very obvious that Moore caught the ball. He was making a move. Like he already had gone past in his mind having whether or not he'd caught the ball. He was on to the next thing. And he lost the football.
We're on to the football move.
Like it's just not. It's not complicated, but they made it complicated for some reason.
So Rondell Moore does run a 4-3. So I think you're right that there are times where Kobe Bryant had trouble sticking with him, but he's the kind of guy that you're going to have trouble sticking to. So not a lot of shame there.
When you were coming on, I was talking about DeAndre Hopkins and Tariq. Like, I'm right now, without having watched all the replay and all that kind of stuff, I feel like I'm giving most of the credit to Tariq. What was your gut? Like, where do you give the credit for holding DeAndre Hopkins to 4 catches for 36 yards?
Did Tariq's pass breakup on Hopkins, that was after the touchdown, right?
Yes.
That was the next drive. I would not be surprised if Murray and the Cardinals saw that and were just like, nope, no, we're not doing this. Because that was insane. Like his ability to break on that ball. And the only reason that he didn't pick that off and probably, I mean, very possibly house that is because he was playing conservatively. Like that is a situation where you can clearly point and say, he's not 100% confident in what he's doing out there. And it was still an amazing play. But I think, this time next year, or maybe even sooner, he's gonna be breaking on that ball with intent to catch it and not just we gotta break this up, right? So I mean, yeah, I think it's Woolen. I don't think teams should be throwing at him. Like at some point, it just becomes dumb, and I think we hit that point a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, I'm speechless because he shouldn't be this good. He shouldn't be this good. A fifth rounder who's just switched to playing the side of the ball, and to have already earned the reputation of a no-fly zone, and having not really been tested against some of the best receivers yet. And in this game, when undoubtedly Hopkins has been hotter than any receiver in football for the last 2 weeks, in a game they needed, in a game at home, and Woolen just like swallowed him. Like he was just out of it. And that's crazy. And that play, you talk about him playing conservatively, and I think that that's probably fair. How many DBs, let alone rookie DBs, have the peace of mind to not only get your hand out in front to knock it down, but with your back hand, have your hand open and flat against the back, no pulling, no turning, no chance to call that a PI. Like that was a pro's pro play, and I was like, okay, Tariq, I see you. Like that's pretty sweet.
He did give up the touchdown to Ernst later on, though, right?
He did, and he would have given up another touchdown to Hopkins that got called back due to one of the million mistakes that the Cardinals made. I mean, that team is in trouble. Murray, go ahead.
I was gonna say they don't look well coached. Like no. I know, like everyone like just loves to hate on Cliff, but like I think Cliff would probably be a very good offensive coordinator. He just does not seem like he has it all together to run an entire team.
Well, and you got Murray, who signed in the offseason to a big deal, had a rule in there about, having to spend enough time prepping for games because he's playing too many video games. And then they take that out, and then doesn't get off to a good start. He's yelling in his coach's face 2 weeks ago. He's now yelling in DeAndre Hopkins' face this week. And I look at that team and I'm like, it's rough. JJ Watt, is that guy going to even play next year? Maybe he does. If he does, who cares? Like, he's not even that good anymore. The guy that I love on that team, kind of the way I like Ja Morant on, the Grizzlies in basketball, is Budda Baker. I mean, I love the way that guy plays. If he hadn't played today, Nathan, this could have been ugly, because he was making a lot of plays on the field.
Yeah, and I say like Cliff is probably a good offensive coordinator, but that they scored 14 points, right? The offense,
other than 14 points.
14
and
points.
7 of them were on that last kind of 2-minute drill drive at the.
And you've got Kyler Murray, Rondale Moore, and Robbie Anderson, and obviously Hopkins and Zach Ertz. And they've spent other picks on offensive players. They paid James Conner a lot of money. I don't think he's particularly good, but they liked him. So that's an offense that Cliff has been able to invest a ton in, and 14 points.
So here's a take that I'm curious if you will agree with. As I'm kind of looking through and thinking through this game, I found myself a little frustrated in the first half with the Seahawks offense, in that the Cardinals came into this game defensively as one of the worst run defenses in football, and they just gave up a ton of rushing yards to Dalvin Cook and the Vikings. And the Seahawks they got sacked 5 times, season high, last time they played in Seattle. Cardinals love to do all these exotic blitzes, and the Seahawks just kept going to the pass. There's a lot put on Geno's shoulders, and it might have been Geno putting it on his shoulders. I don't know, but the one touchdown drive they had in the first half was when they really ran the ball a lot, and I felt like they were kind of letting the Cardinals off the hook. I felt like in the second half, once they started running the ball, there's a little bit more rhythm to their offense. It doesn't mean that they have to do that all the time, but in this particular matchup, I thought the run game was at least as key to this victory as the passing game. I'm kind of curious what your thoughts there, as a known lover of the running game.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think a lot, I guess, either way about the running game. It felt fine. And I'll actually pull it up now because I'm curious if it felt fine in a way that like is actually efficient, or if they were just, doing it felt like it was just doing enough, pretty consistently just doing enough. But it didn't feel, I don't know. When they went so run heavy, I was like, okay, here we go. Walker will pop one here at the end, and I'll have a million people yelling at me in my mentions about my draft grade for him. But that just kind of never came.
I've got the EPA for you if you want to see it.
Yeah.
So all plays EPA was 0.09. Rush EPA in this game was 0.15. Pass was 0.04.
Nice. So yeah, it was good. It was just good. Which I think is that's really impressive because it felt, like I said, it felt fine. It felt like the kind of thing that's always very annoying about people who value the running game too much or love the running game so much. Like, oh, he's just churning out 4, 5, 6 yards at a time. But I think like the success, what was the success rate? I'm guessing it was
43%.
So yeah. So like they really were just grinding out successful plays.
Their late down success rate rushing the ball, which is third and fourth down for people that don't know, 100%.
Sheesh. How many plays?
100%. That's tough to beat. I mean, that was only 3 plays, but
still good.
Yeah, I mean, passing success rate was 51%, so it wasn't like they were struggling terribly there. And the pass game was huge. But yeah, I just felt like this was an effective run game. I thought the offensive line, we haven't really talked about them. It always happens. But again, they gave up. They had kind of a tough game against the Cardinals the first time. I thought even Abe Lucas had maybe his roughest game that first time against the Cardinals. And Smith didn't get sacked in the first half, and the Cardinals end up with 2 sacks in this game. So 2 sacks for 12 yards. And I thought, do you remember those? I actually thought at least one of them was clearly on Geno. And the other one you could argue it was third down or second down, and Geno kind of rolls a little to the left and holds on to it.
Mm-hmm.
And felt like that was on Geno.
The very next play was one where just kind of they had a replay where you could see downfield a little bit more, and it looked like there was something shorter that, in retrospect, he probably should have jumped off and given that guy a chance, but it didn't. It felt like a coverage sack. So at least 2 of those did not feel like it was really indicative of poor line play.
Yeah, I'll be really curious to see what their grades are. I thought there's some. I mean, tight ends again today. Will Dissly had another solid game, just did his job. Colby Parkinson did his job. Noah Fant, we've already talked about. Those guys together today. Let's see. Noah Fant was 5 catches and 6 targets. Dissly was 3 catches and 4 targets. Parkinson was 2 and 2. So together, you've got 10 catches and 12 targets. Between the 3 of them. They've just been really efficient. They haven't had to make many tough catches. I thought Fant had a couple today. We saw Kenneth Walker get a little bit more involved in the pass game today. Got 3 balls for 20 yards. So he ended up at 129 yards of total offense, yards from scrimmage.
His EPA per target is horrific, though.
Is
The
it?
pick six. So
Oh yeah,
can't really
yeah.
put
Hard to pin that on him. Um, who else have we like not talked about? What about Mr. Myers?
have we talked about D. Eskridge?
What did we talk to me about DS Grid,
He
Nathan?
was just a nothing, right? And they have a like he keeps the football gods are desperately asking D. Eskridge to take his place, like and to step up and to earn a role, and he is just bartlebying this, and he declines. He would rather not, which is hey, if you can make a few $1,000,000. He had the nasty concussion, so he's not even really getting out of this scot-free. So I don't know, it just sucks.
I got a great quote for you. Post game presser, Bruce Irvin.
Okay,
A lot of people were
is he
saying this
shouting
was
out Dayna?
What's that?
Did he shout out Dayna,
He
his
did
number one
not.
super fan? No, that's too bad.
And he also didn't tag Evan, but
That's good.
he says a lot of people were saying this was a rebuild year. This don't look like a rebuild year. I love that from Bruce. And Ryan Neal says Geno Smith bouncing back from the pick six to lead 3 straight touchdown drives. Says he's the heartbeat of the team. And gotta love it. And I have to say, Nathan, part of what I was worried about going into this game, that turf is ass. Like, it was coming up in chunks, and the Seahawks have had their more than their share of injuries down there. With DK and Tyler, having their little bumps and bruises, I'm like, just get to the bye week, And
We lost the entire damn LOB there one year. Like,
I was at that game.
career.
I was actually sitting with Evan at that game. It was brutal. I think the Seahawks still won it. There was that crazy throw from Russ to Doug down the sideline, like that had no business happening. But yeah, it's so that I don't think there was any injuries as far as I can tell. And now, I mean,
Did you see the John Schneider hug and smile thing at the end of the game?
I did.
That is some pure emotion. Do you know who he is hugging? Who is that?
No. Where do you have a picture somewhere?
Yeah, here, I'll put it in the chat.
I thought it was Pete.
No, it's not. It's definitely not Pete. That is some pure emotion and joy from John Schneider on that. But I'm really curious who he is hugging, because they are very much sharing a moment, both of them crazy excited.
Whoops. Let me oh God, yeah, I love that face, man. Oh, I don't know who that is. Yeah, that's not a familiar face.
That's John Schneider's we won the Super Bowl face. Like, it's very close to that same not saying that's what he's thinking, but that same expression.
I think that's kind of what the season is, though. It is like they can say whatever they want. They didn't expect this season to happen. There's no way. I don't believe it. I know what they say. They're not idiots, though. There's no way you expect 6 rookies to hit. And even today, Derek Young, he wasn't the best player on the field, but he made 2 good special teams play. That's another rookie that contributed. And he wasn't getting some snaps on offense. To your point about Eskridge, Derek Young may start pushing Eskridge for some snaps. And I wouldn't hate it at this point, because Eskridge just hasn't done enough. But there's just no way that John and Pete expected this. And I think they're just they're dancing on the grave of all the people that were shitting on them for years. And the thing is, I give them a ton of credit, but some of it's just luck. I mean, just to be real, I'm not trying to belittle it, but Geno Smith all by himself, having that be what it's become, I mean, come on. No way.
All right, we have insider info from Cashman, who says he believes that is Danny Van Dyke, I'm gonna guess is how you say that, an assistant strength coach. So I don't know, maybe him and John are workout buddies. Although I don't know, I've seen John. I don't know how much he's
Yeah.
working out, but
Yeah, I don't know about that part. Okay. Well, I think we're nearing the end of it. I think we've covered just about every angle of this. Looking ahead, I mean, we'll talk about this. Well, when are you leaving for Germany?
tomorrow, I mean, I go to Italy first, but we fly out tomorrow. I got to get up at like very early in the morning.
Dude, have a wonderful trip. Please post some pics. Where are you going in Italy again?
We're Florence and then Munich for the game and everything.
I've got some recommendations in Florence if you want. We spent a
Yes.
week there, and there's two restaurants in particular. One had the best steak. Like it's like enough for a household, but it's just amazing. And they cut it for you at the table. It's just amazing. It's like one of those tomahawk kind of
Oh
steaks.
yeah, yeah.
And then there's another place that make these custom cocktails. Like I don't know if the same bartender's there, but that was their thing. Is they had this bartender that just made. He basically asks you like, what kinds of flavors do you like? You know, and you don't order anything. They come back with these cocktails. You don't know what's in them, and they're amazing.
Yeah.
That was the only place we went twice because it was just like it was so good.
Yeah,
Uh,
definitely. If folks have traveling tips, I would be interested to hear them. I'm way more excited about this game than I was when I booked the trip in the off season. Looks like it should be a
yes.
win, so I'm excited about that. The stadium looks awesome. I can't wait to see that. So it's going to be really fun, and I'll get to hang out with Dayna and give her shit for various things.
Very good. Well, you know,
Yeah,
she's been so negative about this team. You know, it's
I
good
think
that
we're
you're going to be there to kind of convince her to have hope and to cheer.
yeah, I think we're finally starting to wear off on her, or either that, or all the criticism has got to her, and she's faking positivity now. So.
Dana, we love you. We're just harassing you. Dana is our never-ending light of optimism in the squad, and she's smart to get out of the the chat on game days usually. All right. Well, if you haven't already given the show a like, come on. I mean, give the show a like. As they say, smash the like button, right? And subscribe to the channel. We are at 8,000 subscribers. We've gotten to the 8,000 subscriber mark. We'd love to add you to that. And then, go over to patreon.com/hawkblogger. Get immediate access to the Slack channel. The conversation continues there. We've got hundreds of really cool folks in there, really good vibe. Everybody's friendly. Talk about the Seahawks all the time, obsess about the Seahawks. And it's a good way, like during the workday, take a second off, go talk about the Seahawks with some people that are not as obnoxious as some of the folks can be on Twitter. And who knows what's going to happen with Twitter in the next few days. So, a better time than ever to get access to a really quality Seahawks conversation that happens in the Slack channel. Patreon.com/hawkblogger gets you in. So, Nathan, have a wonderful trip. Travel safe. Eat well. And bring home Tom Brady's soul.
Head? Oh, okay.
I was gonna go more gory, but like just bring home his soul. Like just end it for him because the Seahawks are in position. They should win this game.
I'm gonna guess that somebody has already beaten me to stealing Tom Brady's soul. So, but I'll see what I can do just for you.
Oh, I want 7-3, dude. I'm now expecting 7-3. That would be 7-3 into the bye, down to the stretch, and let's see if the 49ers can keep blowing some things and make this even better. Okay, my friend, and to everybody that joined, have a wonderful rest of your evening. I will do some Hawk Blogger Sunday night stats later tonight once I have some time. Until then, go Hawks.